This is it. It's the final four. Problem is, there are five of us, but it's okay because the more the merrier on the podcast. Good to see everybody. We got the Vikings, the Eagles, the Bengals, the Panthers, and the Broncos. I mean, it's this time of year. There's only one thing to talk about, and it's trades. What trades do we like? What trades do we want to make? What do we like? What do we hate in terms of what's gone down? And what are the things that we're trying to do? So, as always, we're always happy to have this podcast to be a launching point for people to say what they like or dislike about trades, but also to kind of just float out there. What are they thinking? And of course, there's always the shenanigans that take place post podcast where deals really get made. So, anyways, hope everyone's doing well. RJ, we'll kick it off with you. How are things with your house? Everything good at this point?
Yeah, fantastic. I have nothing to complain about. Just focused on trying to make trades happen.
Absolutely. And Chris, I heard you're out of the weather. It's not COVID, right?
It's not COVID. I don't know what it is, but well, I know it's not COVID. That's about as far as I've got. So no drinking for a few nights at least, unfortunately.
And you're still trying to make trades. I admire your dedication to the craft, my friend.
Always making trades.
I don't believe that. Anyways, James, I think it has a couple of comments here. Outside of hating my Buckeyes and hating my 49ers, how are you?
We're doing all right.
Okay.
Okay.
Man, a few words. I love it. Bill, we're going to talk about your trade first here, but before we dive into any of that stuff, what's good, my man? I see you're wearing orange as well. I appreciate that.
I guess it's orange. I don't know. But it works for, at least in the lighting, it's orange.
It's reading as orange.
Right.
I'm not wrong. It's reading as orange, right, guys?
Sure. Let's get into the trades.
Yeah. No, I'm doing good.
All right. Well, we have to do the obligatory introduction and everything before we dive into the content. But I'm sorry, Chris, for making you wait for the fun stuff. So as mentioned, we've got about 15 trades from when we left off last week, which is, I would say, almost our average amount on most good weeks. So well done, everybody, for keeping the activity high this time of year. But yeah, we're going to start off with maybe the biggest one of the 15. So yeah, Bill's been not shy about his willingness to trade down from the 101, and he does so. Doing it for the Giants first, the Panthers first, his first back, and his third back in 2024. So two later firsts, one non-playoff, one playoff run first this year, and then his first back in 24 and his third back in 24. So 3 firsts and a third for the 101. Bill.
102.
102.
Yeah, same thing.
Not if you ask the Patriots.
Bill, show your work.
Yeah. No, this was just a conversation with Seahawks. I was like, if I can get my first back, I can control what I want to do here. Do I care enough about Bijan or Stroud or Young or whoever was going to be at 2 to not try to get my 24 first back? It took a little bit of wiggle room. It was conversation about Seahawks, like what picks was he willing to give up, but overall it was just like, I think I'll be better positioned to build either through the draft this year and next year, or just push all of it to next year, or whatever I end up doing, than just sitting and hoping that 101 doesn't end up being Bijan or whoever else I wanted to be there at 2. So I have too many holes. I've been scolded enough times that I finally took some advice and traded down. And yeah, I mean, overall, I think people will like it overall. I was a little bit iffy on it, but I guess at the end of the day, 3 firsts and a third, and controlling my entire draft next year as well, that works out for me.
So before I open up to everybody, there's too many holes. He wants to control what's going on. Anyone want to say what's on our mind? That's what
No.
she's. Anyways, Chris, fire away. I think I see that smile. You want to say something?
I like the trade for Bill. It was a good. I mean, none of them are early first he got back this year, but I like him getting his first back next year. It's a multi-year rebuild, unless he gets impatient again and decides to spend it on another late rookie receiver. But I like him getting that back.
Hopefully, I have more patience this time. I'm going to take the Brett route.
Or not so much. James, what are you thinking?
Being able to get control of your own pick back is huge. Big thing is you need to properly actually, do what you need to do, get your team right for next year, because the rest of the picks you got aren't great. Like they're picks and they're first rounders, but they're late. And the later you get in the first, the higher chance of missing. And you're not wrong. Your team needs a lot more, but you still have a lot of work to do to make sure that you have another good pick next year.
Don't you worry, Panthers. Your pick will be top 10. Don't worry.
I won't
I
be.
believe in you.
RJ, is a man who controls a quarter of the 2024 draft. What do you think about this?
I mean, I think it's a fantastic trade. Like breaking down the 101 in a year where you're not going to utilize the 101 is a great
102.
thing to do. Oh, is it the 102? I'm sorry.
It is too,
102.
Same thing. We have two quarterbacks that are debatably the 101 and a talented running back. It's not as bad as it was last year.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's a fantastic trade. If Seahawks feels that they're in that type of scenario, then that's definitely the cost for that early of a pick. I like Bill's side a little bit more, but I don't hate it for either of them. I'm glad that Bill's starting to learn. Now,
I think it's great, honestly, on the Seahawks side, because he still has a massive war chest. Like, I was honestly surprised, too, that, you couldn't have squeaked a couple of the thirds out of him. Because at this point in time, he's got more picks than contract years, essentially. I felt like it should have been pretty easy to get a little bit more out of him that way, too.
Well, I genuinely didn't even try. I was just like, I just want to focus on X amount of firsts, and as long as one of them is mine, I'm okay. And then just make sure I get my third. I didn't really try too hard on the negotiation. He's kind of a tough one to negotiate with. He's very set in his way of, I'm only going to do it at this price, and it's just one of those things. But what I will say is, I don't know. I think that generally speaking, the one thing that I've learned, if anything, is I've got to hold on to my own pick. Anybody else's can go. Got to hold on to mine. But I also find it interesting that this is 2 years in a row where I've dealt a top 3 pick for a pretty good haul. Like I got Giants last year and I got Seahawks this year, and one day I'll actually make a pick, but not this year.
So again, my feeling on this, Bill, you learned the wrong lesson here. Pick a strategy and stick to it. I don't care if you go all in. I don't care if you diversify. I don't care if you build through the draft. Can you please pick a strategy and stick with it? Because what you're doing is riding the carousel around, I'm going to get my pick back. I'm going to build through the draft. I'm trading these picks. I'm going to win now. I'm buying studs. I'm going to diversify these studs. I'm breaking these studs down. I'm getting picks back. And every year, you're finishing in the bottom 10. Can we please learn a lesson to pick a strategy and stick with it? Again, I'm the last person who should be giving this advice. I get that. I went from 14 first-round picks last year to being first round out or second round out in the playoffs this year. I get it. But when you're building, you need to either be building or you need to be ready to go for the playoffs. And let's stick with it this time, okay? Can you promise me that?
I promise that I'll stick with a direction.
So you won't buy Justin Jefferson after you start like 0-5 then.
No, I have Jamar Chase, and he's literally.
But you won't go buy another one.
I mean, if somebody wants to give it to me cheap, I'll buy another one. But
I
I'm not-
mean, use Marquise Brown in your first round pick. Go buy Justin Jefferson back.
yeah, that'll work.
I guess it's time to move to the next deal then.
Which is still mine.
Right. So the Bears, after spending most of the offseason trying to acquire more draft capital, spends the first draft capital of the offseason for himself, trading the first he got from the Miami Dolphins last year to the Broncos for Harold Landry and Azeez Ojulari. Two pass rushers who have been dealing with injury issues. Landry torn ACL early last year. Ojulari came back and has been both off and on for the Giants this year. So I'll throw this out there for the Giant fans. Do we have any Giant fans in here? I think it's just the
No,
Giants.
Brandon is the Giants fan.
Yeah. Okay. Anyone feel like saying anything about this deal of late first for two pass rushers?
I actually really like it for the Bears. You know,
Same.
he has another trade coming up where he gets a third linebacker. He essentially built a whole linebacking core pretty cheap to go along with some of the guys he already had. So I feel like it rounds out a position to where it's rather deep for a pretty good price. Landry, you know, I think he's a former All-Pro or very close to. Tennessee doesn't really have any options outside of him for pass rush, as showed. Najee Warre looked good in spurts this year when he was healthy. So a lot of upside.
Yeah, that was kind of my thing with Aziz. My understanding was he basically chose Ojulari over Browning, and it was going to be one of the two. Ojulari was literally a throw-in on the Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson deal. And then I got Landry for 208. So a throw-in and 208 for 131. I can live with that. I am very hesitant to say that it's a win because I think Ojulari could be something very good.
I think that the two of them together should be worth more than one late first pick, but I might be in the minority here. But when I'm looking
No,
at both
you're in-
these guys,
I'd
I-
agree with you.
I like both of them. Obviously, I've got the next trade for Ojulari, so I don't want to say too much yet. But yeah, I'm
So
happy to
contract,
acquire one.
contract.
Yep.
You add their contracts together, it's less than $5 million. You have two guys who have shown they can rush the passer and be Landry has shown he can be a 200-point linebacker. Ojulari has shown the potential for being that. You put those two together for 131, like absolutely. So I don't. Like, that being said, I don't hate this for Bill because those guys aren't going to be productive for Bill when Bill's ready to compete. So you just traded the 101 to get your pick back and not necessarily try and compete next year. This is the kind of deal that you say, I'm going to take a toss in and 208, get 131. It is a win for me because I'm locking in that value. Whatever happens with these guys in the offseason, I have this pick. This pick is locked in at the 131. So I've eliminated the risk. That said, both those players could be, I'd say, top 50 linebackers next year. If nothing else, Ojulari top 75. And if nothing else, having those guys kind of pop. You've seen Goose put together very good teams in the past by having a stable of 5 pass rushing linebackers, and he just needs 2 of them to get sacks in any given week to give him the points he needs at the position. So I call it a win-win. I love it for both. I love it for Bears, but at the same time, I like it for Bill.
Yeah, I think it was a good deal. I traded Bill Landry for the 208, and I thought Landry, while he was injured, was worth about that. So, next possible time that anybody's going to be playing a football game, he should be healthy. That's a fine price increase. I don't really see much value in Ojulari unless he unless he does something preseason or maintains a starting role. But there's a lot of people at that like edge position on the Giants, so I don't necessarily see his production being consistent.
All right. Well, Ojulari didn't stay for long. He jumped from Bears with a third to go get Carl Lawson from Bengals. I'm going to take one of these few times to go first. I love this for Chris. I think the Jets are going to try and build a rotation at the end, and I don't think Lawson's going to be one of those guys. Hell, the $1.1 million for the points, great. But I think you're going to see the 100-point guy, and while that's useful, that's not worth what I think Ojulari can give you. So give me what Chris got every time over what he gave. But considering, Lawson's contract, I understand it.
Yeah, this is one that the Bears actually came to me with. And again, the reason I didn't want to do it is, like you said, the contract on Lawson. But I am a fan of Ojulari, even though he's been injured a bit. And the nice thing is that if I extend him now or before like the trade deadline next year, I think his contract comes out to like $3.5 million or something when he gets renegotiated based on his last 8 games played. And he's completed his second year, so he's eligible for that. So again, if I can get a good linebacker for under $4 million, that's got that sack potential. That's kind of going with that, slowly building up my core of sack guys at the linebacker spot rather than just the tackle guys I've had in the past.
I don't even think he goes above 2.
I think he does when I did the numbers.
Okay.
Did the numbers before I did the trade.
Okay. But even so, like, even if he does, like, he has 76 points in 6 games. He did 3/4 of what Lawson did in 6 games.
It's not
Like,
fully.
so it's good.
It's not fully sustainable, but I think he can average. I think he can get double-digit sacks in a full season.
That defense is just getting better and better, and he's going to be one of the guys that just gets fed off of just opportunities playing with a lot of other good players.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's good for both sides. Bears clearly needed a defensive end. But, I like Ojulari more than Lawson, just generally speaking. But how are you going to argue with a $1.1 million defensive end?
Yep.
All right, moving on up. Speaking of the 101, I'm sorry. I'm trying to make the first trade the 101. I was incorrect. I am sorry. However, the current owner of the 101 is on the podcast. Thank God. Chris.
Yes.
Tell us who you're taking right now.
Justin Herbert for 101 and the 231.
Yep. I get bored. I get bored, and this is a lot more fun having a pick that could go either way here.
Hold on, I need to change the name of the podcast from "And We're Off" to "I Get Bored."
I get bored. Yeah, I put Herbert on the trade bait earlier, and he reached out a while ago. So him and I have been in conversations off and on, going back and forth. We both agreed Herbert was worth more than the 101. We disagreed on how much, so we kind of bounced up and down the second round pick, and eventually I said, yeah, I want to have fun, so I just took one of the earlier ones, and yeah, that's the whole story.
I want to have fun.
Yeah, it felt like a discount on Herbert for sure, especially with him not going into his 5th-year option upcoming.
Not yet. End of next year he will be when he gets extended. So yeah, he's not expensive this next year. Yes, he's a great QB, but I have the 101.
Yeah, I actually think I would be a lot happier with the 101 than Herbert.
Yeah.
Just for cost control.
Not just that, honestly. I'm not crazy about Herbert. Like, he's definitely a very good, very solid QB. I think
do
he's
not
better for
have the
fantasy
hottest
than real life.
takes
So.
This is ridiculous. Bash the whole quarterback class this year. Now you don't like Herbert.
So
Fields
I,
over there is nothing by comparison.
Well,
I mean,
the big hate on Herbert I honestly have is he hasn't had a good offensive coordinator his entire career. He throws more checkdowns than anybody else in the league, and it's not necessarily all his fault. But
He has Austin Eckler. I would throw checkdowns too.
Would anyone like to guess?
Eckler gets all the checkdowns because Eckler can't run.
Would anyone like to guess, without actually cheating and looking at it, what quarterback Justin Herbert finished as this last year
Like in our league,
in our league?
I've
I'm
been
guessing
looking at
somewhere
that too
between
much,
8 and 12.
so I already know.
I'm going to say 6.
I'm guessing 8 and 12.
Chris, do you know off the top of your head already, or
Total points?
no? Point per game.
Points per game?
Oh,
I think it's like QB5 or something like that.
Yeah, I was. Yeah, still around 6.
14.
Hey,
Oh.
that's closest.
Never
Yeah,
mind.
he's not very good.
14. QB 14 went for more than the 101.
Okay.
And you're gonna have to pay him a boatload of money next year.
Well,
Uh,
yeah,
but-
if he keeps it.
I bought Herbert in another league this year. I understand the draw of Herbert. He is big arm in a good offense without the good offensive coordinator with lots of sexy options. I get the allure of Herbert.
I honestly call him Big Sexy because he's big. He looks the part. He has the arm. He's got everything. It just doesn't work. And
Well, he
is it
doesn't have
the
this-
is it the
he doesn't-
coordinator? Will they get a better coordinator? I don't know. They didn't even fire their head coach, who I felt deserved to be fired for like the last 2 years for all the fuck ups they've had. So
That was
I
the
don't have a
biggest
lot of
stuff.
faith in the organization. So I don't have a lot of faith in the quarterback. And
You know-
also, Keenan isn't getting younger. Mike Williams isn't getting younger. And there you have no run game at all. Like
I
I
didn't
know if you
expect-
go look at Eckler, he had like 4 yards per carry on the season, but he had 11 games this year under 4, and he had like
Yeah, but
5
they're-
games under 3 yards a carry.
Yeah, but their run
They have
game
no
is
run
very
game.
similar, like what the Patriots did with James White. It's just checkdowns. That's your run game.
I was a really big Justin Herbert fan 10 minutes ago, and now I don't think I am anymore. I know.
Yeah, I know. I
Kinda
didn't expect
sad.
this
Entire
conversation at all.
season without both Keenan Allen and
It's a
Michael-
horrible realization.
I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding you too. If you go look at it, if you look where his throw chart is, the amount of curls that man throws a year and screens he throws a year is ridiculous. Like there's a reason why Gerald Everett was like a slam dunk easy top 10 tight end and like any league you wanted ever since he's and Hunter Henry before that, because the checkdowns they do there is ridiculous.
Yeah, but
especially,
he
yeah,
hasn't
also
always
Eckler.
done checkdowns, right? Like the whole.
He
point of-
essentially he has. If you go look at a lot of their big plays, especially with Jalen Guyton, it's a lot of busted coverages. It's like cover 3 down the seam where they have the seam split. It's a bunch of really broken things. He doesn't make a lot of next level throws. Don't get me wrong, he does make some because he does look big sexy, but he doesn't do it consistently enough to be that elite like number 4 QB that everyone says he is. For a lot of people, it's Mahomes, Burrow, Josh Allen, and Herbert. For me, I don't think it is.
And again, I don't know who it would be, but I would love to see them get a slot option guy like a Cole Beasley back in the day. Let him complement Keenan Allen and those guys, or move Keenan into that role and move another guy outside. Let him actually be the guy you can be with the right offensive coordinator. But to put it in perspective, I would say the comments from the group were widely positive on the move I made, including a move for Jared Goff. Jared Goff finished within a point of Justin Herbert this year. So different
Sure.
age, different situation, a lot of different things.
Right.
But let's put that in perspective.
I've
Jared
actually
Goff's always had talent, though. Like he's never
Well-
been bad. He's just been in the wrong system.
no, he hasn't. Golf was bad. Golf is literally now so much better than
Goff
he used
took
to
him to
be.
a fucking Super Bowl.
No,
He wasn't bad.
no, he was dude. Okay, so if you go back to when he was with the Rams, I kid you not, you can go look at it. The Rams had the most delay of game penalties in the league, and it was widely known that Sean McVay was literally calling in plays And they
Right.
were no huddling so heavily because
Right.
he was telling him the read progression for the plays because Jared Goff was having that much issues in the offense. You don't trade the former first overall pick and 3 first rounders for an aging vet QB if there isn't a problem. And don't get me wrong, when he got to Detroit last year, he didn't look good. This year, if you go sit down and watch the tape, he has taken it to heart that he got shipped out and that he got let go. And he essentially was a throw-in with draft picks to get a different QB. And he is actually making a lot more reads. They've done great things with him in Detroit. He's a whole different QB. Early this season, I didn't want Goff anywhere. I've been trying to buy him everywhere.
Yeah, like not everybody figures it out when they're 22, right? Like he finally got it. It all came together for him.
Yep.
Now, whether or not Detroit keeps him long term, who knows? But anyway, Mike, back to your point, you were saying about how everybody liked the Goff deal and the Herbert deal when you did them.
Yeah, I mean, I would say the value I got back on Goff in that deal was not one-on-one value. It was lesser value. So let's put this in perspective of one player who is, and again, I want to make sure I'm accurate with this, 24 years old, who scores about the same on an offense that has pieces that are aging out potentially versus a 28-year-old on an offense with pieces that are potentially aging up.
Mm-hmm.
We have different values on that. So, look, I made offers for Herbert earlier today. Not hating on him because I have him in a number of places, but point is, I think for the 101 in our league format, give me that pick every time for Justin Herbert based off where he is in the process.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Like, it's just hard. Like, Herbert is one of those guys who you don't have a problem paying the $35 million, the $40 million to, like a Mahomes or like a Josh Allen, right? Like, you don't mind doing it because the potential production is there. Is it worth building around in this circumstance? Probably not. I would rather have the 101 and build off of Stroud or Young or Levis or whoever. But, to each their own. I remember a couple years ago, I tried to build around Mahomes, and I realized how quickly that doesn't work.
All right. Anyways, let's go to probably my shakiest trade of the weekend. Giving up Brandon Cooks to the Panthers for Robert Woods and Josh Allen. So James obviously looking to do a 2-for-1, move Josh Allen for some value. I'm willing to move off Brandon Cooks, who I just renegotiated to his lovely new contract that'll pay him through his, I think, 35th birthday or 36th birthday, and pick up 2 guys, including Josh Allen, who I've already extended.
Did you say you renegotiated Woods?
I renegotiated Cooks.
Okay.
So he was a $14 million guy that I brought down to half his salary. And then I brought on Woods, who's a lesser receiver, but is fine just because I love Josh Allen.
It's a lot of faith that Woods is, like, healthy. Like, again. I mean, generally speaking, I like it if it works out for you because who knows where Cooks ends up. But still, like, it's just a risk.
I really like this trade for Mike.
Honestly, I like it for Mike more than I like it for myself. It was just essentially I'm running out of cap.
No,
And,
I understand. It's a perfectly fine thing to have had Woods at whatever cost you had him last year, and then just come to the realization that he's not the same Robert Woods anymore. And then, like, I think Allen for, like, Cooks is pretty much fine, and, like, just to be done with Woods, like, that's perfectly fine. If I'm the guy receiving it, I would rather get Josh Allen, and then that, like, I don't know, maybe I can squeeze the last bit of production out of Woods. Like, it's not a massive win by Mike. It's just like you get the extra little piece that, like, we know he's done stuff in the league before, so, like, you might see flashes next year. Maybe not.
No, I definitely agree. I think there's a lot more upside on his side. At some point you can't pay everybody, and I'm going to be, after all my tags go through, up against the cap. And one of my next trades was one of the reasons I was pretty sure I was going to get that one done, which was why I wanted to get the Josh money off, because I just wanted to move that money to a better position. And I had been shopping Josh Allen, and the bites were not there at all. Like, I wasn't getting offered even a third. Like, people straight up weren't offering for him.
For Josh Allen,
Yeah, no one wanted to give me anything for him, because he had to essentially be extended, and paying Josh Allen $9 million, or right at $9 million, no one wanted to do it. So I didn't even want to do it. I liked my
what's the
linebacker
lowest
core
pick you
without
would
him.
have
So.
taken?
I really wanted a late 2 for him, but I couldn't get anyone to even give me that. I tried swapping a Josh Allen and like one of my late 3s for like a mid 2, and I couldn't get anyone to bite on that. I had like 6 of those get declined from different owners. I just couldn't get anything at all. And when Mike sent this over to me, I'm like, I don't like it, but no one's giving me anything, and I have to free up the cap. So
That's very surprising to me. Am I wrong? Is Josh Allen not good? Like,
No,
I thought he was
he's
pretty
good.
solid.
I think it might have just been like the wrong potential trade partners in that scenario. Because like I'm sure there's a lot of guys that didn't offer for him that would have, like, had they known that was the price they would, like, judging
Yeah.
by Bill's response, he
Yeah.
would have paid that.
It's hard
Yeah,
this time
like-
of year.
But why
But
wouldn't you? Like, I would
it's
do this. Like, the $9 million for a linebacker doesn't seem that crazy. Like, Chris,
But
you have
that's
like,
a-
a whole squad of $9
I
million
paid like
linebackers.
$60 million to my linebackers.
If
I'm
that's
fine
gonna,
paying them.
but those scenarios happen more often than we realize with like some of the like defensive players, especially. Like, oh well, I would have paid a little bit more, and it's like, yeah, like some of the defensive players, like sometimes you do end up settling because
Yeah,
like that's
they're
just
hard values.
those are the only people that like come forward that are willing to like start the negotiation.
Sure.
You know, it's unfortunate, but like you see it. Like I know we saw it with like Shaq Barrett like 2 years ago. We've seen it with a couple of different players. Kenneth Murray coming off of his like good rookie year. Like I know he
Mhm.
got sold for what some people perceived as like, oh, I would have paid more. Just stuff like that. It happens, and it happens a lot with
Gotcha.
defensive players, sadly.
I also, with that, even knowing I lost to me in my initial evaluation of it, it's just Brandon Cooks has also requested a trade. So
Yeah,
he
he
gets
won't
out
be
of Houston, he goes to a contender. It could be quite a bit of added value to him instantly.
Yep.
So it turns Josh Allen and a fading Robert Woods into potentially like a mid first. So I was cool with that.
I mean, at the very worst, Cooks is one of the most consistent wide receivers in the NFL.
Yeah, and it gives me a really
Yes.
good receiving core if he comes back.
All right. So moving on up. Speaking of
Wow.
dropping cap, Antoine Wesley, the Ravens kicker, and my 24th fourth. Oh, the faith. I love it. To dump that much cap.
It's like 4 million.
Yeah.
That's
It's
like
more.
no
It's
cap.
more the fact that you dumped a $3 million kicker. Like, I'm amazed somebody took that off you.
Well, it's Saints. They know they aren't competing. They've got a boatload of cap. They're planning on probably drafting well this year, and then next year actually trying to get the last of their pieces together to try to compete, I would guess. He did really
Right.
great in the draft last year, building through the draft.
So
Yeah.
the next one is what I'm curious on. And I think it's a good educational piece for a lot of our newer owners here. So picking up Von Miller for a presumably late 24th third.
Yeah.
So James, why don't you talk me through your process here?
I have one first rounder. I have a bunch of thirds. I need a defensive end. Defense ends are expensive. I don't necessarily plan on winning everything next year, but I don't want to be non-competitive because I don't have my pick. And getting someone like Von Miller, who I know won't even probably play the first 4 or 5 games of next year, is going to be very lucrative, at least going into the deadline, because it's been pretty noticeable if you watch the Bills with Von Miller and without. They can't get to the quarterback without him. And he'll be back next year. Too much money on the table to just let it go. And that's very it's not a lot of investment for a late third, especially when I was sitting on 5 or 6 of them at the time. So why not take the gamble?
You franchise tagged him though.
Yes, I did.
So what's his
It's going to
salary
be
gonna
about
be?
14, 15 million.
That's not bad.
No, it's not.
I probably just would have transition tagged him, right?
I
drop-
used my transition tag.
Oh, you've already used that.
Yeah, I used it on Cole Holcomb. I went and got a different linebacker. I liked a little bit more. I know he's
okay.
got a little bit of debate on whether or not he keeps the #1 job there when he gets healthy, but I think he's better than Davis. And then I already used my other tag to keep Quinnen.
Jeez.
Yeah, all my money is essentially going to my 3 tags, and then I'll have a few million left, and then I'll have whatever the league cap goes up in to do free agents. So I won't be a big free agent bidder, but I feel most of my team's put together. Except for, you have to have someone that throws a ball on Sunday.
Yeah, where does your QB come from?
I'm working on it, okay? One thing at a time. I
All
needed
right.
a DN bed, so.
I'll send you a super cheap Taylor Heineke.
Tom Brady will be a free agent in our league.
Super duper cheap.
Okay.
All right. So back to me. Deal with the Colts. So this is me giving up Jared Goff, Amari Cooper, Kwity Paye, I know, and Roquan Smith for Zach Wilson, Chris Olave, Nick Bosa, Khalil Mack, the Bills second in 23, and the Falcons second in 23. So I believe that's the 209 and I want to say the 229. So for me, look, Zach Wilson's got, I think, an uphill battle to keeping his job, but I think I've always loved it if he can actually keep that job with those receivers. Olave's kind of shown it and is a lot cheaper than Cooper. I'm an Niners homer, so of course Bosa is the only thing that's going to get me off of Kwity. And then Khalil in 2 seconds, moving off of Roquan. I think it's pretty straightforward to me. So I'll throw that out there and let everyone else shit all over it.
That's an awful return to get for Kwity Paye and some throw-ins.
Fact.
Did you at least lube up the Colts before you fucked them?
I don't think
I don't know.
I don't
think
really
it's
know.
that far off.
I don't know. I like this way more for you, Mike, than I do Colts.
I don't.
I think the big issue for Colts is he doesn't have a receiver now. Because I really like Amari. I really like Deshaun Watson coming back and hopefully being in better form next year, especially since Amari put up 240 this year with Jacoby Brissett. It just becomes that's not the kind of player Colts needs to hold on to. But he can sit on Goff, he can sit on Paye, he can sit on Roquan or get a decent haul for him.
Yeah, I'm sure Colts isn't done, but I think the issue is that he's been trying. My conversation with Colts is he's been trying everything to get Commanders to give him back his first next year, and he won't do it. So he's just like he probably at this point he's just like fuck it, I'm just going to go and try to win as much as I can.
I mean, I like Jared Goff over Wilson. I like Roquan over Khalil Mack.
Yeah, but Olave and Bosa just wipe all that out for me.
I mean,
That's
it
just
makes it.
personal.
I don't see that. Like, I don't think it's some horrible trade. I think, like, at most, maybe Colts may have given up a second too much, but like that's at the very most. Because, like, I think, don't get me wrong. Yes, the value discrepancy between Olave and Cooper and Bosa and Paye kind of make up the value discrepancy between Goff and Roquan and Zach and Khalil. But, like, yeah, a second or 2 seconds to get it done, sure.
I get what you're saying. I don't know. I look at it in like a slightly different way. I face value, take the contracts out of this. I think Mike takes this. Add the contracts and you can go however you feel about it. But just me personally, I would rather have Olave and Bosa over probably all of these other pieces.
Well, it's also interesting because Paye put up 136 and missed 5-6 games this year. So it's not like he got a bad D end in return. He was also a lot cheaper.
Right.
Younger
That value discrepancy is a lot closer than you would assume.
Yeah. And then the big thing to me is just he's got to do something with Cooper now. He can't sit on Cooper. He can sit on the other 3 pieces, but there's no reason to sit on Cooper. Like, I mean, Cooper's 28. He's got 2 or 3 years left, which I think he would be better off cashing out.
You can sit on him till in season, Somebody
Yeah,
wants to make
wait.
a playoff run.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. Wait to see how it really looks with Watson. See if he's worth anything.
Well, yeah, he's in no rush because he doesn't even have his first. But I'm just
Right.
saying that guy shouldn't be on the team really past trade deadline. Even if he is winning the South, because he's not going to do anything in the playoffs.
Mhm.
I'm just a little sad because I was in discussions about Boza, and then less than 24 hours later, Boza is gone.
I was
Not
offered.
Mike's team.
I was offered Olave. Colts was going to everybody.
I didn't get offered any of them.
He was a busy
really?
person.
Yeah, I've already hit him up for golf, and he's told me no.
Really?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I
Huh.
said Mike an offer for golf too.
Yeah, but this works, and like I said, I'm willing to roll the dice. Plus, I like having Bosa. I don't mind being off of Roquan, and the 2 seconds are nice. So the combination kind of made sense for me, but I think it's a lot closer than some of the folks made it out to initially. But sticking with Colts, they were continuously busy here with our friends, the Chiefs. Michael Carter in a 5th for Travis Jones, Lewis Cine in a 3rd. I don't know. It's a dice roll on both sides. Who knows how this is going to end up until we get into the season next year.
I don't know if I'd really
Yeah.
want either side of this.
Yeah,
Well-
it's interesting that Chiefs got seen back after giving him up last year.
I think give me the draft pick, and that's all I want.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Chiefs got a 3rd out of this, and then he went and traded Scene for a 2nd later on here, along with
Yeah,
the
which
linebacker.
you know,
So-
that's
I think more of
Just
that
a cheap
value
throw
was
on.
associated with
Yeah,
the
yeah.
linebacker.
Yep. So I don't know. He gets a couple picks, and when you take it in total, but yeah,
Yeah.
like somebody said, they didn't want either side. It's a little bit of on this trade.
I like Scene. I'm a huge supporter, but like,
Sure.
just I don't like. I don't know where the value of him is coming from. Like right now.
I
Just
loved
he's
his
a first rounder.
well, no, I loved his tape at Georgia, but then he lost the starting job to Bynum, and then he got hurt.
Well, yeah,
so
he's
I don't understand how there's a lot of value there.
right.
It's just the concept of he was a first round draft pick, and he's going to get every opportunity to be the guy, and there's no reason that he shouldn't be the guy going forward.
Yeah, but he already lost his starting job to another rookie in training camp.
Yeah, and he's gonna
Like-
and like I've said it multiple times, and like it was discussed, and people said it in scouting reports. Like he's just gonna put on muscle, and he's gonna get shifted to an interior linebacker, and he's gonna fade into obscurity.
All right.
It's impossible.
We shall see. All right, moving to Chiefs and Pats. Chiefs giving up Duvernay for Cowboys 2nd, which is pretty early. To the Pats.
I don't like this for the Chiefs. He paid a first, maybe more than just a first for Duvernay in season
No,
last year.
it was a trade down it was a late first. But sorry, go ahead.
No, it's okay. It's just not great to get lesser return regardless of contract and situation. It's just, I don't know. I would have expected him to either hold or just try to get a first for him.
I think honestly his value has kind of gone down. Like this is not necessarily due to injury, just he's a year older. It's not like he exploded to become like a top 15 receiver or anything. Like he was the number 1 receiver for pretty much the whole season, didn't really do a lot with it. So like his value is diminished compared to last year. And because of that his contract got a lot bigger.
Yeah, he's up to like 7.
So I think it's fine. Like I don't hate it. I think it's fine for the Patriots. Just for the Chiefs like standpoint, sometimes you just gotta get out while you can.
I think it's pretty solid value for both teams all around, because Lamar went down and the Ravens had no passing game, and Duvernay went from having a lot of points for being able to kick return, punt return, and catch balls from Lamar to having no one to catch the ball from. So, and 7 million isn't bad at wide receiver, especially if you think he does a little bit better on the back end of the season if Lamar's still there. But yeah, the size, the age, and the foot injuries can always be rough on smaller, shorter receivers.
I can see the Ravens picking up a wide receiver and him just going into next year kind of as like a Curtis Samuel type of player, which, Samuel was worth roughly a 2nd round pick, so I don't hate it.
I mean, that's the question here is the reason and why I agree with James. I think it was the right price to pay at this point. The reason that Chiefs paid up for Duvernay is because he had the kick returning duties, the punt returning duties, and was the receiver 1. So the combination of all those on the contract made him worth a 1st round pick. With Bateman coming back and the number 1 acquisition item on everyone's list being a wide receiver, because that's what it is every year for the Ravens. If he ends up as the wide receiver 3 in a situation that loves to throw to tight end, so probably the 4th or 5th option in the offense plus returning yards, that's the 203 is a gift for that. Now that said, he's going to show up, he's going to show out, he's going to have some boom weeks. That's still going to be a value, especially at that contract. So I'll call it a win-win with upside, but I can understand Chiefs saying, hey, I bought it here, I got value out of it, and I sold it here. Like, at the end of the day, it's not a complete loss for him. All right. Moving up. Bill. DJ Reader for 2/4. I feel like I saw this kind of deal floating around the tradosphere. Was this one you came up with yourself, or is this one that you were inspired by?
No, I was approached by Bears on Reader. He sent me an offer for one of the 4ths, and I countered with both, and he decided to think on it and then took it. So it's just me like getting rid of pieces that aren't going to be of any value to me.
I think it was a fine move. I would actually I think you probably could have got a 3rd if you would have found another buyer, or
I asked for a 3rd.
But it's fine. Not.
Yeah, 2/4 is like what, like the equivalent of a 3rd, I guess, like to a point.
I mean, like you're splitting hairs. If you're gonna walk away from 2 4s in hopes of getting a 3rd, I don't know if the effort to get that 3rd is really worth it.
Right. Yeah. So no, I mean, overall, I'm good with it. He's super cheap, and he's very productive. So Bears will be happy with him for as long as he has them.
Yeah, I think it's a good deal for everybody. You cash out on a player, get a couple picks, and he gets a probably injured D end or D tackle at a good value.
Mm-hmm.
All right, me and Pats do the next 2 deals, so we'll kind of treat them as one. AJ Dillon and Chase Young leaving my team, going to Pats. In return, I get the Tampa 1st and Carolina's 2nd, which is the 132, and I think the 17.
Tampa is 32. Falcons is
Carolina's this what, 17?
Carolina is 18.
18? Okay, so and then Atlanta is, I want to say 30.
Atlanta is 30.
Cardinals is what, 19?
Cardinals is 15.
I have pick 18.
15, and then
Maybe
Pat's
32 and 50.
second.
Yeah, but it's he's looking at the 2nd round stuff.
Yep. So I moved 2, a running back 1, and a high potential D end who's coming off an injury season for 2 late firsts, 2 mid seconds, and a 2nd in the future. So we'll see how this ends up fallen out for me. I felt good about the value, considering some of the uncertainty and the range of outcomes for Green Bay, but both of these deals could end up making me look quite silly.
I mean, AJ Dillon's worth every bit of that if we, the closer and closer we get to trade deadline, because that man is another Derrick Henry who just gets stronger and stronger as the season progresses. So
Yeah.
I think that's a fine return.
Yeah,
And then-
I like it for you. You don't have to worry about dealing with fifth-year options, in a year or so, and the picks are a little later, but still, like, totally worth it. And I think Young is disappointing, to say the least. So getting off of him for what you did was pretty solid.
Yep, I had said it before, but I think that's like the young deal feels like a second too much. But if it took throwing in another second to kind of get that deal done, I don't hate it, because I know I know other people feel more strongly about Chase Young than I do.
Yep. All right. Then we've got Bucks and Colts hooking up Cameron Curl for Juwan Bentley. Was Curl Jeremy's guy, or was that
That was
He
my.
was at one point.
was it Chris's guy? I thought.
No, he was my
No,
guy
he was
back at
Chris,
one
yeah.
point. I'm the one that spent a fortune on him in free agency and then renegotiated him, and then I shipped him off at some point. But he was my guy for a while.
He was such a good player. And now he has an awful contract.
Yeah.
He has no appeal to me.
Yeah.
It happens.
And I'm guessing Bentley is just a tag option.
Yeah, he's a tag option.
I've already reached into him. It's essentially free. He's planning on cutting, just letting him walk. To him, it was just a way to get off of a $8 million 4-year safety deal when he
Wow.
already had good safeties.
That doesn't make any sense. But
It's
okay.
safety. Safeties don't really matter.
They do matter.
All
They're
right.
so cheap.
Speaking of, Anthony Nelson and Lewis Cine for the Bears 23 second.
I love Chiefs. I love Chiefs doing
Yeah,
this.
it's a linebacker going out into a contract year that didn't look that impressive on a Bucks defense, and a safety who, yeah, there's not a lot there.
Goose is always going to goose.
Yeah, he's moved
Like, Sane was-
3 times.
Yeah, he was the 302 last year, and Anthony Nelson has like no value, and somehow that gets a top 16 second. So
I mean, Anthony Nelson has a sub-$1 million contract.
yeah,
that's
but he
probably-
doesn't have an actual contract.
No, but you got to risk that sometimes whenever it's such a cheap one here.
Yeah, but I don't think I don't know if he lands on a team. Man.
He's
Like,
probably cheap enough to where Tampa Bay brings him back. Tampa Bay's probably not good enough to where anybody better than him plays. So I wouldn't be shocked if he's, playing a decent amount of snaps for Tampa Bay.
Means something.
But that's, that's not worth a second. And to add Lewis Cine doesn't necessarily put that.
No,
up
I
over the
think I'd
top.
probably give you a mid to late fourth at best for Nelson. I don't even think I'd give you that. I don't think I'd give you anything because of the
That's
5 years.
second- That
And then
is
Scene, I think I would give you like a mid third, late third back. He didn't do anything to increase his value.
Well, Goose
Somehow
is
becomes
pretty.
second.
Goose is pretty special whenever he focuses on people that he knows will pay. This is the second time he sold him for a 2, and he got a third earlier. So he's he does pretty well for himself with Scene, apparently. So I don't know how he does it every year, but
He finds a way.
yeah. But no,
Anyways,
it's 213 for Scene and Nelson. It's not. It is what
those
it
are our
is.
trades. And hey, we almost made it an hour. It's impressive, guys. I mean, for the off season and a lot of uncertainty left to come in terms of picks, rollover, free agency, in the midst of the playoffs. Well done. I mean, this is what you hope for. But a lot to come, and sounds like there are plenty of deals that are still in the gestation phase. So I'm thinking that there may be some action tonight and later on this week. So you guys don't make a liar out of me.
You sound so excited, Mike, when you're talking about that.
Yeah,
Like, that's what's coming on up.
turn it off. Let's get these talks going.
Sex is sexy. All right. Hope everybody enjoyed themselves. Hopefully, YouTube isn't really ready to shut this down because I'm talking sexy things about making fake football NFL trades. But, you know, that's what we do, and we haven't been shut down yet. So thanks all for joining, and good luck and good trading.